Boy, have I missed y'all. Oh my God. Oh, chat, come on in. Bring it in. Bring in the hugs. High five each other on the way in. Man, oh man, it has been an interesting past few days. Hit the like button as you are coming on in. If you're joining me for the first time, hi, my name is AV. We talk about all things law, true crime, and a little bit of debauchery here. Lots of debauchery going on in the world right now. But we are here today because if you have followed the Julio Foolio trial with me, then you know today is a big, big day. The 4 defendants that we saw got sentenced to life. We are now going to witness their formal, complete sentencing. The good news, I do have some tea on little boy Sean. Remember they had the whole GoFundMe thing? There is a new document that he filed. It looks like his attorney might be arguing that up first. Yeah, it's been a while, chat. I missed y'all. Listen, okay? I've been in FIFA land. But I'm also moving. You guys know my family is from Cape Verde, so this has been a huge week for us, like to be these 10 tiny islands on the west coast of Africa that nobody knows about. And I always have to explain where I'm from. People are like, what are you, Cambodian? I'm like, no, I'm Cape Verdean. What are you, Canadian? No, I'm Cape Verdean. I don't understand why this is so difficult to explain all the goddamn time. But now we have a new thing, and it's like a block button. And his name is Vozinha, and it is amazing. Okay, how about Kevin Pina yesterday? Listen, Kevin Pina with that half shot from across the field. Okay, then Helios at the end. Ooh, listen. The fact that we came after Spain and hit a draw and then Uruguay last night and they all butthurt, they mad, is bringing out all types of racism. And y'all already know how I feel about the whole Chud the Builder situation. And then the Carmelo Anthony thing. I'm like, you know what? I need to stay out of some of these conversations. So self-inflicted, but I'm getting the hell out of Massachusetts and going to the South. All right. Like I'm done. I'm done up here. All right. Anyway, that's not why y'all came to this chat. You came back because we miss our familia, our family. Let us see what's going to happen to these boys today. Big day in the Foolio case, okay? All of the boys are back. They have been in jail for almost a month now. Not even jail, sorry, because y'all get on me for saying that. Prison, okay? Prison. I am boosting the audio. We are hitting play. Let's see who we have in the courtroom. There they are. Isaiah Chance, Davion Murphy, Rashad Murphy, Sean, little boy Sean, Gathright. We are back, chats. Big day. See, we're gonna. Ho Gonzalez is back in the building too. We have him. Got a little glimpse of Sean over here. The hair is growing out. He has his same attorneys. Looks like the proceedings start. Let me skip us ahead. Right around about 15 minutes ago. We're not that far off. Right around here. Okay, here we go, Chad. Here we go. Hit the like button. Let's go. Judge Cisco. We haven't seen her in a while.
Everybody present? Looks like it. You guys switched places. Some of you did, so it caught me off guard a little bit. So, okay, but it looks like all of the defendants are present. Defense counsel's present. The state is present. All right, are both sides ready to proceed forward to sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, defense, you guys ready?
Yes, Judge.
All right. I know a number of you filed post-trial motions, so let's go ahead and hear those first. All right, Mr. Gonzalez, you can kick it off.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Brian Gonzalez on behalf of Rashad Murphy. Your Honor, I did file a motion for new trial on behalf of Mr. Murphy, and without belaboring many arguments that were already made during the course of the trial and in pretrial motions, Judge, I just, for the record, would like to just state those grounds under which we would file our motion without making any more extensive argument that has already been made.
Okay.
And that the record will clearly reflect. Essentially, Judge, we would suggest that first and foremost, that the verdict rendered against Rashad Murphy strike that, Judge. Your Honor, Mr. Murphy would suggest that the court erred in
Come on,
denying
Gonzalez, talk. Like, it's been a month, dude. It's been a month. You can spit it out.
several of Mr. Murphy's pretrial motions with arguments that extended not only to the pretrial motion dates, but also during the course and scope of the trial in interim circumstances, and that were all on the record. First of all, that would be the motion to suppress Mr. Murphy's cell phone. Secondly, the motion to suppress Mr. Murphy's statements. Next, Judge, the motion for severance of the defendant, and in the alternative for separate juries. Next, Judge, his first motion in limine regarding Ghost 187, his second motion in limine and Darbert challenge with regard to law enforcement opinion testimony and testimony of alleged gang war history and hearsay-based gang intelligence, as well as uncharged and unsolved acts of violence. Next, Judge, Mr. Murphy's motion in limine regarding gang affiliation, gang identification, and gang charts. Mr. Murphy's fourth motion in limine regarding opinion identification testimony as it relates to digital media. The portions of Mr. Murphy's fifth motion in limine regarding irrelevant evidence. Mr. Murphy's sixth motion in limine regarding portions of the Robert Howard motion in limine, and also Judge Mr. Murphy's seventh motion in limine regarding state's trial exhibits 88B, 88C, and 101. We also would suggest that the court erred in denying Mr. Murphy's motion for judgment of acquittal, both after the state's case and after all of the evidence. And then, Judge, just a cumulative count with regard to the totality of those motions that previously were stated on the record. And finally, Judge, that the weight of the evidence did not appear to support the jury's verdict. Those would be the issues that Mr. Rashad Murphy has included in his motion for new trial.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. State, I'll give you a chance to rebut all of.
Okay, so it looks like we're starting off with some outstanding motions, and right out the gate, Rashad is trying to get a motion for a new trial. I mean, he's in there. Why not? You know, motion for a new trial. But for them to say that the jury got it wrong, that the evidence presented wasn't enough. I mean, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that Rashad has a shot? I mean, like, we might have to do a poll here. Out of all four of them, if anyone has an opportunity to get a new trial, who is it? I mean, because Rashad, it was cooked. You guys remember the toasted nuts and all the things. You guys remember all of that. So to see him motion for a new trial, I mean, it's, yeah, shout out to Keyshawn. I mean, he got to try, but that'll be today's poll. If anybody does want to put forward a motion for a new trial, who should it be?
The motions once the defendants have made them. Okay, all right, Mr. You want to go next, Mr. Wise, on behalf of Mr. Gathright?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, we did not file a motion for new trial. I was asked to adopt the arguments that Mr. Gonzalez made. I know all these issues were litigated.
Yes, they were. And all of the motions that you filed pre-trial are obviously the court's ruling. Your arguments, your motions, any objections you have are all preserved for the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. And the only additional filing we've made was a memorandum regarding the motion for judgment of acquittal as to count 6, which is the tampering charge that was only charge as to Mr. Gathright. I believe Your Honor took that under advisement pending the jury's decision. I believe that
I have that motion, Chad. I did pull that before this. So Sean, it looks like, does not want a new trial, but he wants one of the counts removed. I don't know how. Boy, you had that gun, little green ass Sean. You had the death bullet. All right. So I have it. It's about 6 pages. When they're done or on the next break, I will show it to you guys. But it was filed yesterday, 6/21, June 21st, on Sunday, in preparation for this hearing. Now look at Sean's lawyer. He has been in the sun. He has a wonderful golf tan. Let's see what he says here.
is still open. So we filed a memorandum briefly laying out the state of the law. The state, I believe, agreed during the motion argument during trial that the basis for the tampering charge is the leaving of the car at the grandmother's and wiping down the doors. We cited several cases that essentially all hold that there basically are 2 elements for tampering. There's a removal of the evidence, the physical aspect, but then there's also the specific intent element, which requires evidence that the alleged removal of evidence was done with the intent to impair its rarity or availability in a criminal proceeding. And there's been no evidence presented of that element at the trial. Essentially, the evidence we see is that the car is left with the grandmother. The grandmother's not told to hide the car or anything like that. Obviously, the grandmother drives the car. She's pulled over in it. The interior of 2 of the doors are wiped down, and that's it. Nothing else is wiped down within the car. It's not consistent with someone trying to impair any availability. Obviously, there would have been 90% of the car still available to be tested for whatever physical evidence might have been in there. I think the evidence is clearly consistent with that wiping down being done because it's being left with his grandmother and it's being done out of courtesy to her. And just briefly to cite one line from the Costanza case, and really all the cases we cite are consistent with this, but one line from that is that a defendant's equivocal conduct toward evidence is insufficient to demonstrate the intent necessary for a section 918.13 violation. Merely discarding evidence from one's person without more does not amount to a violation. And that's all that was proven here, that allegedly the evidence is discarded, so to speak, being left with the grandmother, but there's no evidence that it's done with any intent to impair its availability. And it's really, when you think about it, the fact that Mr. Gathright, even after wiping down the doors, gets back in the car and then drives it to the street and parks it, clearly inconsistent with trying to get rid of any evidence that he used the car. So based on that and based on the authorities we cite in the memorandum, we would renew the motion for judgment.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Stenardi, on behalf of Davion Murphy.
Hold on, it's him. It's father time. Father time is coming up.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. On behalf of Davion Murphy, we have in fact filed a motion for new trial. And as previously indicated, at the conclusion of all the evidence, we will adopt and readopt all co-defendants' motions that have been heard by the court and ruled on by the court. Our motion for new trial is based on 6 different grounds. Ground number 1 is denial of the severance of the defendants. The court heard motions to sever defendants and obviously denied that as the case was tried jointly with the other co-defendants. And obviously we allege that there was, the defendants were presented as a collective group, which would have included obviously Mr. Davion Murphy, and there was considerable danger of guilt by association simply because Mr. Davion Murphy was tried jointly with the other co-defendants. Ground number 2, in that the court allowed extensive gang profile and gang affiliation evidence. The focus of the trial, a substantial portion of the trial, was predicated on the state's introduction of Mr. Murphy's alleged gang affiliation, and that became the focus of the trial. And by simply by alleging that Mr. Murphy was in fact a part or participant in the gang, made him guilty by association. the third third ground that the court previously ruled on, but we will re-allege it, and that is Detective Griffin indicating that Mr. Davion Murphy had previously been in prison, and the jury clearly heard that. Court has ruled we'd re-allege it as a ground for mistrial and to grant Mr. Davion Murphy a new trial. We would also allege that the evidence as presented as to Davion Murphy was contrary, insufficient, or the verdict was contrary to the weight of all the evidence. The cumulative effect of the denial of the severance and of co-defendants' spontaneous admission deprived Mr. Davion Murphy of a fair trial. Ground number 5, improper expert opinion testimony invaded the province of the jury, and that was as to experts testified concerning gang relationships, etc., which was a large part of the trial. And again, basically, the cumulative error requires a new trial, and that would be the extensive gang evidence, highly prejudicial social media evidence that was introduced, the joint trial spillover, and that is that because Mr. Davion Murphy was present during the trial with co-defendants, there was spillover evidence, improper association evidence, expert testimony, and repeated references to gang warfare and retaliatory violence. All of that was in a joint trial. We submit that that would be sufficient as cumulative evidence to grant Mr. Davion Murphy a new trial.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sonardi. All right, Mr. Petridis, on behalf of Mr. Chance.
Your Honor, we filed a motion for new trial, and not to belabor what's in there, the argument is simply that the verdict rests on a chain of impermissibly stacked inferences, and there was not direct evidence presented that Mr. Chance knew his co-defendants intended to murder Mr. Jones, that he intended Mr. Jones to be killed, or that his acts were specifically designed to assist or encourage the murder, and therefore there wasn't enough evidence under Florida law to sustain a first-degree murder conviction or conspiracy to commit murder conviction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I have pulled while we were just waiting. I'll show it to you guys at the end of the proceedings, but I now have all 4 of their motions. So the first one is a Rashad's motion for a new trial. It's about 4 pages. The other thing I could tell y'all just from being in these case files back here is these lawyers want their money. Okay, I see all types of motions for attorney's fees, especially Father Time. He said, I'm about to go. I need this money. I need to be paid. Okay. So I do see, let me walk you guys through them. I'll read them towards the end, but we have Rashad's here, a motion for a new trial. We have a motion for acquittal on count 6 for Sean. So Sean is not doing a motion for a new trial. He just wants count 6 removed. Interesting, right? Coming over here, you have Davion absolutely wants a motion for a new trial, 7 pages. We'll read that in a second. And then coming over lastly to Isaiah Chance. This one was filed first. That's what I will tell you. All the other 3 documents that I just showed you were all filed either on over the weekend between the 16th through yesterday. Okay. So yesterday, the 20th. Now, Isaiah Chance, if you look at this date up at the top, 5/21. All right. And that was right around the time of Alicia's hearing. Right around the time of Alicia's hearing. So interesting timing there. I know Jeremy and team, and hold on, I got to stop screen sharing for a second because we always lose the sound when I do that. But Jeremy and team are filing the same motion for Alicia, who was formally sentenced about 3 to 4 weeks ago. All right, let's go back on in. We can expect for the sentencing hearing to hear from family and friends of the victim, in this case, Julio Foolio, and we will also hear from the family members of the 4 defendants as well. Okay, so we'll be here for a little bit. Make sure you guys hit the like button. I have to reset the algorithm because we haven't been here in about a week. So thank you so much, Reppin' Magazine, for reminding everybody to hit the like button on your way in. Let's see what happens and go back to the courtroom.
All right, Ms. Doherty, what's your response first to Mr. Gathwright's the motion for judgment of acquittal as to count 6, the tampering charge?
Judge, we did review that case law that he cited as authority in his motion as well. And Judge, those cases are clearly distinguishable by to the facts presently in front of the court. One of them was a corpus case. We literally have the defendant on video where he is seen actually wiping down the fingerprints. All of the rest of the cases went towards knowledge, intent that that physical act was actually done and proof of that. And Judge, there is circumstantial evidence in this case that is overwhelming. This is a case where the manner in which the homicide occurred was at a hotel, a public spot where 3 armed gunmen used high-powered assault rifles and a Glock with a switch that was automated to be able to fire rapidly and unloaded in a public parking lot. And this was the victim in this case. There was ample evidence that they knew who they were targeting. They knew the high-profile nature of the victim. And so, Judge, the law requires for tampering that they knew or should have known that a investigation by law enforcement was going to occur. There is no argument that they can make based on the circumstantial nature, the manner in which they committed this crime, to suggest to this court that he did not know that a law enforcement investigation was about to be instituted. And the actions that were done with both of the vehicles that were used in this case clearly were removed from the state of Florida, and where they live in Jacksonville and where they would be investigated, they were removed from that city. They were hidden. That car was hidden at his grandmother's house the day of the homicide. When the homicide occurred, he brought it and he switched vehicles and switched contents that was contained within the suspect murder vehicle and put it into another vehicle. Judge, based on the facts and the circumstances in this case, we believe that there is enough facts and evidence to support that he knew that a high-profile homicide investigation would occur. There was all the phone evidence from his phone that showed his activity immediately after this crime. So we certainly knew that they were successful in killing a high-profile rap artist. So based on that and the fact there is no corpus issue in this particular case, he literally is seen wiping it down on a video. So based on all of that evidence, we would ask that you deny the defendant's motion.
Okay, and do you have any further argument on any of the defendant's motions for new trial?
Your Honor, we would rely on all our previous written arguments as well as oral arguments that were made in pretrial motions and during the course of the trial. Any weight arguments or insufficient evidence we believe is without merit. The facts and evidence in this case were overwhelming. There was a mountain of case, not only circumstances.
For anybody coming in, yes, the boys did get life. This is the final hearing. It is happening live right now, today, on June 22nd. Okay, so this is the formal sentence that is given down to the boys. So although they got life, you have to remember that was recommended by the jury. Okay, the jury recommended life. Okay. So now we are going to see what happens as these victim impact statements come in. We might hear from Aaliyah, some of the other people that got shot. We're going to hear from the family members of the accused as well. Well, not even accused, the sentenced. And we're going to see ultimately what Judge Sisko does at the end of this hearing. It's going to pretty much formalize this process. It's a little bit different in Florida. That's why you're seeing 2 of these. In every state, usually you'll have some states, a majority of states, you'll get a verdict and then you'll get a sentencing immediately. In Florida, it works a little bit differently. So they do it in a 2-pronged process, especially with death penalty or life type of cases. So for anybody that's coming in, that's why we're watching it again. And it's not even again, this is live. We're about 10 minutes behind the live feed, but this is a big, big day. All right, let's go back on in. And again, for anybody that's also coming on in, the boys 3 of them put in a motion for a new trial. Okay. And Miss Michelle up there at the podium from the prosecutor's office is like, hell no, keep them in jail. Like, I didn't do all that work for nothing. The jury convicted them at the end of the day, regardless, guilty across the board. The only one, and the reason why I said 3 out of 4, Sean oddly just wants to get rid of one of the counts. He has not put in a motion for a new trial. Let's keep going.
Substantial evidence, there was direct evidence of each and every one of the defendants' participation in this case, as well as the actual crime itself was caught on video. So we would rely on all of our prior arguments, written and oral.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I will deny Sean Gathwright's motion for judgment of acquittal as to count 6 and deny all of the defendants' motions for new trial. All right, state or
Well, I guess I don't have to read them to y'all because, and look at Sean's face. You ain't getting out on count 6. You ain't getting count 6 out of there. All of y'all want motions. Look at Sean's lawyer. He's like, I stayed up all night. I just got back from my cruise. I played golf. I stayed up all night to write that motion, Sean. And she just denied it. Judge Sisko don't play. She does not play. Let's go back on in, chat.
are you going to call any witnesses, or does anyone want to speak before sentencing?
Judge, we did talk to our victim assistant advocate, and the victim's mother did not wish to address the court again. She did read a victim impact, I believe, for Alicia Andrews' trial, as well as there was a statement that was read to the jury. She is aware that the sentences of this case for the homicide is going to be a life sentence. We also did contact the other victims in this case, and they did not wish to be present or heard.
Wow. So Foolio's mom, she's probably watching at home. Maybe not this stream, but watching at home. She did show up to Alicia's sentencing hearing. And I did do a video on that for you guys. I will card it if you're watching this from the future, so that way you can check it out. It's about 20 minutes long. She gave a speech at the beginning, and it was very brief. I would say less than 10 minutes. The other people that were shot and injured at this declined to say anything. So it sounds like from the state side, nobody wants to talk about what happened. So now, and shout out to ChatGPT, I see her at the prosecution's table. Huge shout out to Anna Ismer, favorite on this channel, great prosecutor. It seems like they don't want to have their piece spoken at this event. So it looks like it's mostly going to be the defendants' families. Let's go back on in.
They are aware also what the sentence is going to be.
All right, and so let's just go through each of the defendants. Let's start with Mr. Chance. So on the first degree murder, it's mandatory life, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are there any minimum mandatories that apply?
Not with regards to Isaiah Chance.
Okay, and then on the conspiracy to commit first degree murder, is that also mandatory life?
Judge, that is a life offense, and I do not believe that is a mandatory offense. And we have provided a score sheet on all of the defendants for the offenses that were not a first degree murder charge.
Okay, so it's up to life on the conspiracy,
Yes.
correct? And what is the state requesting?
Judge, we are asking for a life sentence, maximum sentences on all of the non-life offenses.
To run concurrent or consecutive?
Judge, we would ask for them to run concurrent.
Okay. Moving on to Sean Gathright, as to the first degree premeditated murder, mandatory life, and are there any min-mans that apply to him?
Judge, there are minimum mandatories that apply to him. There is a 25-year minimum mandatory for discharging, 20-year. It's just discharging a firearm. We did not allege resulting in death.
Okay, so that would be on count 1. And then on the conspiracy, you were also asking for life, correct?
Your Honor, for him, it's a first degree felony because he did not have a gang enhancement, so for that, it would be for 30 years with regards to Sean Gathright for the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
Okay. And then with regards to each of the attempted murders in the second degree, are there any min-mans that apply to those?
Judge, for the attempted second degrees, there are minimum mandatory for the firearm, again, enhancements, and again, those are 20-year minimum mandatories.
And the statutory max is what, and what are you asking for?
For the attempted second degree murders for Sean Gathright, those are first degree felonies, so we would be asking for 30 years for a state prison on each one of those counts.
And then on the tampering, what are you asking for?
For 5 years for a state prison.
To run concurrent or all to run concurrent?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, as to Davion Murphy, the first degree murders mandatory life, are there any min-mans that apply to him?
Yes, Your Honor. He also has a 20-year minimum mandatory for a firearm enhancement.
All right, and then you're asking for,
Look at this goofy. Is he still laughing? I'm not surprised, but Davion is back to his shenanigans. Let's go back.
life on the conspiracy.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then on the attempted murders in the second degree, are there also 20-year min-mans on those?
There are for him, yes.
And then you're asking for 30?
We're asking for a life sentence. He actually is raised to a life sentence because of his gang enhancement.
Okay. No, what she's saying is the jury found a gang enhancement, so it gets bumped up. Okay. Because it says second degree felony. What the clerk was asking me, it says second degree felony on the docket, but you're saying because of the gang membership that bumps him up to life.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
And the firearm enhancement. There
I
are
see.
two that apply to him.
Okay.
Guys, I wonder if something's going on with Davion. I don't know if you've noticed this, but he is wearing a pink bracelet. It does appear to be some type of medical. I don't know. I could be wrong. Do you guys see that? It's like a pink bracelet that he's wearing. So maybe he is doped up, but something is going on with Davion.
All right. And you're asking for those to run concurrent?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then as to Rashad Murphy on count one, it's mandatory life. And is that also a 20-year min-man?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then on the conspiracy, you're asking for life, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then are there 20-year min-mans on the attempted murders on all of those counts?
Yes, sir. Mr. Rashad Murphy, there were jury findings for the firearm.
And due to the gang enhancements, is he also looking at life on those?
He is.
And that's what you're asking for?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Does anyone disagree that those are the maximum penalties and minimum mandatories that apply for each of the defendants? Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. Anything else you'd like to say prior to sentencing?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, anything else that you or your client would like to say prior to sentencing, or any other individuals that would like to speak?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Wise, anything further from your client or from anyone else?
Your Honor, Mr. Gathright would like to address the board.
Sure.
I believe his mother and grandmother were in the gallery.
They would like to address the court as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sure.
Oh, Shawnee, you're going to do it to us again. Sean, don't speak. Don't speak. Sean, don't speak. He wants to talk again. We're going to get the mama and the grandma. Oh, strap in, chat. Strap in, chat. Oh.
They both testified in criminal phase, but that would be Lisa Gathright and Tommy Lyon.
Okay. Whoever wants to speak first, come on up.
Oh, I think we're going to get the Jamaican grandmother first. She's going to have to tell us why her grandson decided to do this. We're going to get the Jamaican grandma.
Just have her stand in front of the podium. That's fine.
Oh no, I said that wrong. I thought this was Sean's grandma. And I did turn it up for anybody that's wondering. This is Sean's mama.
Good morning.
Good
Thank you,
morning.
Judge, for
Afternoon, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for allowing me to address the court. I'd like to say that this everything has really opened and brought a lot of attention to a lot of things that are going on in the community and in the neighborhood of Jacksonville and also elsewhere.
Mr. Snarty, you're talking too loud. I can't hear Miss Lau.
Elsewhere in the country. We have received a lot of support and a lot of comments about people who've learned a lot about the judicial process throughout this, which I think is very, very important. And also has sparked a lot of conversation in regards to parents communicating with their children and letting people realize that it doesn't matter what your situation is. You never know what can happen in life and where you can find yourself. And I think with this trial being televised and with a lot of controversy and attention, it's really sparked a lot of conversation throughout the community and brought a lot of awareness. And I hope that this will change a lot of things in people's lives and change their minds and opinions. And as a retired member of the military, I've always been one who has strictly believed in the rule of law and right and wrong. And I've learned a lot. All I can say is I've learned a lot and about how the process goes. And thank you for allowing me to.
Sure, Miss Lyle. And I just want to tell you, you've been a very devoted mother to your son. I can tell you've been here throughout the trial, and he's very fortunate to have you as his mother. And I know your heart is broken. I know it is because it's your child. And I do have sympathy for that and for you. I really do. I'm very sorry for you and for your family that this is where you find yourself. But your attitude and what you're taking away from it, I hope as well for the community's sake that there is some change, because this can't go on. This tragedy just cannot go on. So I thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, I don't know. Something about accountability was just not there, because at the end of the day, we thank her for her service as a veteran. And shout out to this comment here. Like, if you are not securing your weapons, like we all understand the Second Amendment right to bear arms, but your son went and hunted another human being down, let off a firearm in a hotel parking lot where rounds were going through other rooms. I mean, I don't know. I just, I'm a little surprised that that's all she had to say. Of course, you don't want to see your son sentenced to death, but he got those guns from you.
And Miss Gathright, do you want to say something? Come on up.
I do want to thank you for allowing me to address the court. This tragic event occurred when Sean was barely 18 years old. And this is a time when the prefrontal cortex of the brain is not fully developed. This development doesn't complete itself until they're at least 25. And this is the area of the brain that controls impulses, and risky behavior is part of the immature brain. They have a heightened drive for risky behavior. Logic is, emotions and impulses are their first priority, and logic is the second one. And I know that Sean made a mistake, but I really believe that the punishment is too severe. Sean,
I know, it's hard. Mrs. Gathright, it's hard. I know.
Sean is a bright young man, and given the opportunity, I believe he can make an outstanding role model for younger people. He's a strong Christian, and he is liked by his peers as well as adults. This one event should not define the rest of his life. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And Mr. Gathright, do you wish to say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, I just thank you once again for allowing me the opportunity. I prepared just a little something. I worked kind of pretty thoughtfully on it. So I just ask that you allow your discretion for me to.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Thank you.
As long as it's respectful.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Here we are being sentenced for the murder of Charles Jones on the day he was killed 2 years later. Now, some may say this is just a coincidence, but I believe that nothing has been, is, or ever will be left up to chance, and that everything in this world is predestined. And there are many biblical promises of that belief holding true. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Jeremiah 29:11 says, "I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for disaster." And Romans 8:28 says, "We know all things work together for good to those who love God and are called to his purpose."
It's not funny, but it's like you guys called him Pastor Sean. Okay. The first thing out of his mouth was, I am not, he didn't say, I'm sorry. He didn't say anything else. Okay. He didn't apologize to Foolio's mom, which is the first thing he should have done. Okay. Pastor Sean started with a sermon, and for the cheap seats in the back, we're gonna go back because I need to hear that again. He started. What? What are we watching? Hold on, we're gonna go all the way back. Pastor Sean's sermon is beginning. Everybody relax. Let's listen to Pastor Sean. Pass the collection plate, everyone, because I'm surprised the GoFundMe has been deactivated.
Your Honor, I just thank you once again for allowing me the opportunity. I prepared just a little something. I worked kind of pretty thoughtfully on it. So I just ask that you allow your discretion for me to.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Thank you.
As long as it's respectful.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Here we are being sentenced for the murder of Charles Jones on the day he was killed 2 years later. Now, some may say this is just a coincidence, but I believe that nothing has been, is, or ever will be left up to chance, and that everything in this world is predestined. And there are many biblical promises of that belief holding true. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Jeremiah 29:11 says, "I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for disaster." And Romans 8:28 says, "We know all things work together for good to those who love God and are called to his purpose." And there are many more just like them. God has full sovereignty over our lives. He chooses our times of peace and prosperity, our times of joy and laughter. But he also chooses our traumas and our tribulations, not to punish and tear us apart, but to strengthen our character and our faith. Everyone wonders how and why I ended up in a situation like this, despite growing up with a loving family, nice home, multiple opportunities, and promising potential. Some act as if is it impossible or unheard of for someone like me to find themselves in a situation like this. But in reality, it is much more common than we think. It has been happening long before today. There is a parable Jesus shared with the world called the prodigal son, a son who had the nice home, loving family, servants. He had his every need catered to, yet he still chose to take his inheritance and venture off to a far country where he indulged in prodigal living. He soon ran out of money, and a famine had struck the land he was in. And while that would have been enough signs for most to turn back, his eyes still hadn't opened, and he still hadn't come to his senses. Hungry and desperate, he found a job on a farm feeding pigs. And during these times, pigs and what they were fed were deemed as the filthiest, most impure, lowest of the low, and worst of the worst. But he was so hungry and so blind that the food he fed the pigs looked appetizing. That's when he finally came to his senses. He realized that even the servants back home had enough food to spare, yet here he is dying of hunger amongst pigs. After this eye-opening experience, he decided to return home. He was ashamed and planned to go to his father to ask for forgiveness and to become one of his servants because he no longer felt worthy to be called his son. But when he returned, his father embraced him with love and compassion, dressed him in the finest clothes and jewels, and celebrated his son's return with a feast, exclaiming, "This son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is now found." It is not uncommon for good young men who come from good families to get lost in this world. But discontentment often leads these good young men astray. When scholars and historians look back on our times, I believe they will label us as the age of discontentment. And those of us who come from privileged upbringings are actually disadvantaged to the fight against it because of the high expectations, any opportunities and options we grow up with. We don't know what struggle looks like or how hard our parents had to work to provide these opportunities for us. We don't know what we have until it's gone. And it often happens after we go through our own eye-opening experience. Never in history has there been a time like now where there's so much available and so easy to consume, but we still demand more. And it is clearly seen in my generation. Young men and women want to grow up faster to try to keep up with the influencers that are idolized. And this is in part due to us being so susceptible. A study done by the National Institute of Mental Health provided evidence showing that the brain doesn't reach full maturity until 26 to 27 years old for men, about 8 or 9 years older than my time during the offense. But society knows this, and that's why laws set age requirements on certain activities, amenities, and substances as a way to protect adolescent adults. Yet those same laws don't extend to an adolescent adult when they are charged with crimes and allows them to be prosecuted to the fullest extent, regardless of their age. Your Honor, it is heartbreaking that an 18-year-old can't rent a car or a hotel or buy a home, but can be sentenced to death or life in prison without the possibility of parole. They can't purchase alcohol or tobacco, but can be sentenced to death or life in prison without the possibility of parole. They can't work certain jobs or even go on a cruise without a chaperone, but can be sentenced to death without life or life in prison without possibility of parole. And I'm a prime example of these circumstances. At 18 years old, with no prior convictions, I was charged, indicted, and had to face the death penalty. My point is, society views anyone under the age of 21 as not being mentally mature enough to participate or partake in these activities, amenities, and substances because certain substances listed can negatively impact or stunt the growth of a developing brain, while other activities and amenities have restrictions due to the lack of impulse and behavioral control or lack of situational awareness at times with teens. It is very simple to understand that our brains have not developed enough, that we live in a society where someone under the age of 21 can be sentenced to death or life in prison without parole, leave no room for growth, rehabilitation, or redemption. We don't account for the fact that they weren't a fully developed adult and their judgment and decision-making abilities weren't developed either. I believe it is cruel for someone under the age of 21 to be sentenced to life without parole or death before they're even old enough to be fully emancipated or to fully comprehend what consequences their actions carry. I say all this because I want to see change. Change for those whose fates were sealed long before they were born. Change for the prodigal sons and daughters who ventured off too far in the world and got lost. Change for those who haven't reached full maturity or unlocked their full potential as adults. Change for the ones who never had the option to go around, over, or underneath, but straight through their obstacles. In spite of my current circumstances, I still trust in all those biblical promises. And I believe that I am exactly where God planned for me to be, a plan he created long before I was born. It is also my belief that this chapter of my life will propel me to a much greater purpose than what we see here today, because my journey has just begun. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gathright. All right.
Wow. It's not funny, you know, because we all know that Sean is the youngest defendant. But it's very difficult. I know the jury's not here anymore. It's difficult to forget this. It's very difficult to forget this, the hunting, to forget this. And does that mean that people can't feel remorse for the things that they do? But look, that's Sean. That's Sean. Does that mean that people can't be forgiven or move on in life? But that was Sean. How do you think Julio's family feels hearing that? You know? Let's continue with the rest of the hearing.
Does Davion Murphy wish to say anything, or anyone on his behalf? He's indicating no.
And that's the other thing. I don't think he apologized. Did y'all hear him apologize? Did he say so? I mean, we've watched this already, so I know that this hearing is more formal than anything else. But did we see him apologize to the victim's family, the victims, the other people that got grazed, the people inside of the hotel owners, the people that got their cars, bullets in their cars, and they had to go to their insurance, and their premiums probably went up, even though it might have been under comprehensive, like they. Yeah, thank you, Bradley. He did apologize at the trial, but I'm just wondering, you know, and it sounds like he's attempting to forge some type of reform for young defendants. That's what it sounds like. But man, how do you think he did? 1 out of 10. Everybody put your numbers in. 1 out of 10. How do you think Sean did? I mean, there's clearly some remorse. Maybe the delivery wasn't the best, but 1 out of 10. Was that impactful? I see a 2. I see a 1. I see a -10. I see some 7s. I see a 7. I see a 7. They're mostly under 5. There's a 5. Okay. Let's keep going to see what happens. It sounds like Davion is not going to be saying any words. I don't know if his family members are there. Remember, I did mention that Davion has that pink bracelet that does look like it is medical related. Let's keep going.
Mr. Davion Murphy has no comments.
Okay, and Mr. Petratus, on behalf of Mr. Chance, does he wish to say anything?
No, Your Honor, other than we.
Oh, no, I've moved on to Mr. Petratus behind you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, sure, come on up.
Oh, shit. We're going to hear from Gunazay. Okay, remember during the penalty phase, he made it seem like he wasn't all there up here, okay? Isaiah Chance is going to talk. I want to hear the vocabulary. Let's pay attention to the vocabulary.
And as long as it's respectful.
Sorry, I'm kind of nervous. Sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry, Judge. What I did right, Sean kind of covered like how predominantly what I did right.
Okay.
And my lawyer just told me I couldn't talk about a lot of things. So
Well, you just need to be careful. If you start talking about the facts of the case, you could end up creating more evidence against you. So that's probably his concern. So I just want you to be aware of that. But even if you're repeating what Mr. Gathright said, you still have the right to say it. So I don't want you to feel that you can't talk just because Mr. Gathright already said it.
okay. All right. I don't even have or know the right words to say that can rectify the intense severity of how I am situated currently, corresponding to my sentencing right now. I don't think anyone with a reasonable mind frame could adjust their conscience to the reality of something this absurd, especially being this young. This is harder than what I intended. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like our appearances here were more political based than solely on our 6th and 14th Amendment, which guarantees our right to a fair trial with an impartial jury for each
I told y'all to pay attention to that vocabulary.
defendant. Being that, I'm not gonna say that. I wanted to say something to you directly.
No, that's fine. And you're more than welcome to disagree with any way I may have ruled in the case. You just can't
Repeat the facts.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you don't need to repeat the facts, but you just can't be rude to me. That's all I'm asking.
I understand.
You can express disagreement. I have thick skin and there'll be an appellate review of everything I did, but just don't be disrespectful because then I'm gonna have to tell you to sit down and it becomes a thing. So
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
just not have a thing.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay. So, thank you. You all right. So, Judge Cisco, unlike the rest of my co-defendants here, they all are charged with being the alleged shooters and have the same verdicts. However, me, on the other hand, the one who was charged with me for playing the same alleged role as I, gets found not guilty for what I am charged with. Alicia's case didn't contradict the alleged shooters versus the state case. I don't even think it's possible it could have. However, it contradicts mine being the only principle here. Because both of our jury's decisions contradict each other. The only nuance is I went to trial with 3 other people who have the same verdict as I, and she didn't. Alicia get found not guilty for my current charge. It wasn't a coincidence. Basically what I'm saying is Alicia and the state alleged that we played, that's getting into like the facts about the case.
Well, that's okay. If I'm hearing you correctly, you are taking issue with the fact that I don't know if she's your current or former girlfriend, but she went to trial. She was convicted of a manslaughter and got 15 years. And now you're here facing life. And that I would assume that seems unjust to you. Is that correct?
That's highly unjust.
Attorney gotta say. Okay, attorney gotta say. All right. Lawyer Zay. He said, God damn this, I'm gonna get up there. How is it that how is it that she didn't get convicted for the same thing? I go to trial with 3 other people and it don't make sense. Make it make sense. Gutter Zay is up there like, make it. It's not a terrible point. It's not a terrible point. He's not wrong. Professor Counsel Zay is not wrong in that point. He's not. So, ooh.
I seen Susie Lopez on the news this morning, and she was saying that justice has been served. Absolutely, if you see it from that perspective. But everything that's a perspective is based off perception. So if you say that's justice, okay, but when you look at, if you put me and Alicia up on like side by side, that's unjust, like it's injustice, like it doesn't make sense, like it's contrary to my verdict. Like her jury made their decision, our jury made their decision, but it contradicts like both of our verdicts. The only difference is like I went to trial with my co-defendants and she went to trial by herself. So I feel like personally, I got guilt more so by association than like participation. That's all I really wanted to say, Judge. Sorry, because this is way more harder than I anticipated. But that's all. Thank you.
Sure, sure. And you probably know when Miss Andrews went to trial, she basically pinned it all on you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. You know, when as I sit with my lawyer, like he's very he's probably shivering over there because he don't know what I'm gonna say out my mouth.
Right. He's very concerned.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people don't know, but before you go to trial, you try to be optimistic, but everything is done strategically. So how the lawyers optimize what they're gonna say or what they're gonna do, they do it with the client. You know, I'm not saying what she's saying was wrong or not wrong, or what he wanted her to say, or what she said. You know, but that's all though. I want to say something to like Jacksonville though too. So to my city, man, it ain't worth it, boy. Like it ain't worth it. Like me being a rapper from my city and Foolio being a rapper from our city, it ain't worth it. Like my mouth getting dry. Sorry. Like the dissing, the beefing, the shooting, like for what? Like for what? Like when you sitting in your cell alone, cold, it's lonely as hell in that bit. Everybody leave you. Like nobody here.
Lonely as hell in that bitch. What are we watching?
For you, like the ones that's your ride or die, your girlfriends, whoever you love, the only person there for you is your mother, and maybe like one friend, maybe, but it ain't worth it though, bro. It ain't worth it. I was 21 years old facing the death penalty. I never ever. My only interactions with law enforcement was traffic tickets. Wake up next morning, I'm facing the death penalty. That's how quick life can change. It ain't worth it, bro. That's all though. And sorry if I was nervous. Sorry.
No, it's okay, Mr. Chance. And thank you for saying that.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like a defendant that's like, okay, you know, because I do think he has a point. If we have an outcome of Alicia's case and we have an outcome of his involvement in this case, you know, the 3 other shooters is one thing, but his involvement, right? And she plans on appealing. And, you know, I haven't told y'all this. I think I did. I spoke to Alicia's original attorney before Jeremy. It is an off the record discussion, so I can't give you guys the details. But Isaiah has been very focused, here's what I can say, on the outcome of her case for a reason. Now, what you see, that is a major contradiction, and I mean major, it's jarring, is this man tried to sit here in the penalty phase and tell us that he was slow, that he was slower than Davion. Sir, let's go back on in.
Mr. Davion Murphy has changed his mind. He doesn't want to make a brief statement.
Sure.
Oh, shit!
Yeah, go ahead. What would you like to say?
Oh my God! They're gonna put Davion up! Oh my God, what is Davion gonna say? Oh shit! Oh, what? What is happening? This is so good.
Hey, Mr. Murphy.
I would like to say to God be the glory, and all the time, and he forever have the last say so.
I'm sorry, Judge. I'm sorry.
You know, you may have to step up to the podium because the court reporter just needs to hear what you're saying, Mr. Murphy.
As I was saying, yeah, it look different from up here. Okay. To God be the glory all the time, and he'll forever have the last say so in our situation. As I said in my interrogation interview, I'll be judged for it, and I'll forever retain my innocence. And I just want to say to the Gen Z generation, change your life and do something productive with your life. Because in this predicament, it ain't worth it. And like it was said before, this is not my first rodeo down this road, so it's looking like forever, but I forever keep a positive mind state and a positive mindset. But to God be the glory forever. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy.
Oh my God. Y'all put his high ass up there on the podium. Father Time, why are you asleep at the wheel? Father Time, Father Time. You let this man with his medical bracelet go up there and say that? Yeah, message to Gen Z. Don't do dumb shit like this. Don't go and kill rappers. What? What? What the hell?
All right. Mr. Rashad Murphy, anything you want to say or at all? You
No,
have to. Just
don't do
give
it.
me the final chance.
I love everybody.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good.
I love everybody. What is this, a fucking love fest? Y'all killed somebody. You conspired to kill somebody. I love everybody. These ninjas knew law and crime was going to be... They knew that law and crime was going to be in this room, right? And here's the thing. You had the opportunity. Rashad was just like, no, I'm all set. I don't want to say anything, nothing further. We go to Sean. Pastor Sean gets up on the podium. Oh, Pastor Sean. Oh, Pastor Sean. Let me give y'all a sermon because yesterday was Sunday. Prefrontal cortexes are not developed until the age of 25. Still, I was trying to escape an interrogation room. And I said, let me out, dear Lord, let me out. And then I took my granny's vehicle twice. I took my mama's vehicle. I took my granny's vehicle. I wiped it down. Y'all have evidence of me doing this. Y'all have evidence from Foolio's foot from the autopsy. And I'm telling you, I was a young man when I did this. Please, Lord. But instead of taking accountability, because I'm a young man, I'm not a grown man, I'm a young man. Instead of taking accountability, instead of saying sorry to the people that I've harmed and my community, I'm going to give y'all a sermon. Oh, Pastor Sean. Okay, so we start with Pastor Sean. Then you got to be kidding me that Gathright said his IQ was 131. 131. 131. Gathright said that. We watched it together. There is evidence of him saying that. And then when he got caught, and then when Scott Harmon lit that fire under that ass of a lot of these young boys, Gathright, he looked down because he knew he got caught. You're smarter than a fifth grader. You're smarter than what you made it seem like. You're trying to say that your IQ was under Davion's? And then you're like, let me talk to my city for a minute. Let me talk to Jacksonville. If y'all are listening, it ain't worth it. That actually was, I would say, out of all of this, I will say good on Gathright for that. Stop the violence, right? Let's be real. Like, I know I'm poking fun out of this whole thing, but for Gathright, that was good. I'll give him a point for that one. All right? We'll give him a point. Because if you can have this opportunity to make change, then make the change. I don't know what the fuck Sean was talking about. I mean, I think he was trying to say the same thing, but Sean's moment was more about himself. I was 18 when I did this. We need reform for laws because 18-year-olds shouldn't be subjected to harsh sentences like this. Boy, did you not just walk through a parking lot and dump off rounds throughout the whole thing, endangering society? That's a whole nother thing. I will give Gathright a point. I will. I didn't expect me to say that. Seti, are you in here? Is Seti in here? Seti, you see this shit, Seti? Do you see this? Seti, you see this shit? Oh my God. Let's keep going. I don't know if there's any more time in the hearing. I want to see what Judge Sisko's going to do. But then Davion gets up there. What was it, 2 sentences? Just all fucked up with the hospital bracelet. Yeah, it's not worth it. He was just harping on it. And that's the other thing. Originally, he decided to not say anything. But then they were like, the judge gave him another opportunity if, he wanted to say his last words. Like these boys could have all gotten the chair. We don't do that in America anymore. Lethal injection. Is this a game to you guys? It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's about to make my computer freeze. Let's go back in.
All right. So a couple things before I pass sentence. First of all, I want to commend the lawyers again. I know I did it at the close of the trial, but this was a massive case. I mean, it's by far the longest case, the most intricate case, the most difficult case that I've ever handled in almost 24 years. And I know for you all as well, it had to have been, I can't even imagine the Herculean task of all the evidence and sorting through it. And you all always conducted yourselves with the utmost professionalism. And I just want to again express my gratitude for that, how seriously everyone took the case. I never, ever have to worry about any of the lawyers before me, ever, not abiding by the rules of professional conduct. I never have to worry about you being disrespectful to me or to witnesses or to each other. I never have to worry about the attorneys misleading me on the law. And it's rare that that happens, but when it does, and it has happened recently, it does make me very grateful for lawyers that know what they're doing and that practice with the utmost professionalism. So I do want to just thank you all for that so much. I also want to comment about law enforcement's work. I don't know if Detective Ramos is here. I don't see him here. That was one heck of a job. I mean, that was unbelievable. I mean, I've seen a lot of good homicide detectives testify over the years from TPD or HCSO. That was remarkable, and particularly in light of the fact that it was his first time as a lead detective. I mean, and he had an encyclopedic knowledge of this case. I mean, I'm talking about massive amounts of information that he could recall instantly. And not every law enforcement agency and not every homicide detective solves this case. Not everyone does, but he did. I mean, he was tenacious and thorough and so impressive. And if I were at TPD, I'd give him some kind of award for the job that he did, because it was really, really good. He made the whole agency look good. I also want to comment, Detective Taylor Klein, also, who had the foresight to go pull that video from the McDonald's, which was a key part of evidence in this case. And really the cooperation amongst law enforcement in the state of Florida, it's really remarkable. I want to commend the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, the gang unit. I think it's a 12-member unit. And just based upon what I know anecdotally about the situation in Jacksonville, I don't know that it has improved, but a 12 gang unit just doing their best to deal with all of the gang violence in that community, that a lot is asked of them. And specifically, I want to note Detective Nader and Detective Drayback. They, again, worked tirelessly on this case. They worked hand in glove with Detective Ramos. And again, Detective Drayback having the wherewithal to know to go into the Walmart and pull the video like that. That's good old-fashioned detective work that really yielded results for the state of Florida. I also want to commend the cooperation with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, the Gwinnett County Police Department, and I believe it was at Putnam County that found that provided the telephone for Darius Beals. Was that the Clay County Sheriff's Office? I mean, it really is remarkable. And again, in not every state in the United States of America do you have agencies that work that well together with a common goal. So, I mean, that part of it was just very, very, very impressive. I really don't know what to say about what's going on in Jacksonville again, and I don't know if it's getting better or not, but I was stunned. And when I was sitting there listening to the evidence and just the trail of dead bodies, just one young man after the next, just cut down in the prime of their lives. I mean, it's shocking. It is shocking. And I just can't believe that any community, if they're made aware of it, will stand by and put up with that. I mean, it's just tragic. And, Mr. Jones did not deserve to die for what he did, or the drill rap videos he made. But goodness gracious, going and desecrating the gravesite of a murdered relative is, you don't deserve to be killed for that, but you just increased your odds that it was going to happen. And that's the truth. That is the truth. So I'm not at all, again, stating that he deserved it, but it's just shocking. It's shocking to me. And I do have great sympathy for the defendants. You all, for the most part, are young men. And some of you have children. And now for what? For what? Now you're looking at life in prison. And what was it for? And I really appreciate Mr. Gathright and Mr. Chance really speaking to your community. Like, these decisions that are made can have unalterable changes that you can't come back from. There's no coming back from them. You either end up dead or incarcerated for life. And I feel like, you gentlemen had much more to offer this world. You did, and you do. And so in particular, you know, Mr. Rashad Murphy and Davion Murphy, listen, there's no question you guys had a difficult childhood. There is no question. The hand that you were dealt from Jump Street was not the best. There is no question about that. Again, it's not an excuse, but I do acknowledge it. Mr. Chance and Mr. Gathright, you all, unlike the Murphys, you all did have positive role models in your life. Mr. Chance, you had a dad that testified and appeared to be a good role model, and a stepfather that cared about you. And Mr. Gathright, you, as you acknowledged, you had so many opportunities that most people don't have. I mean, you started off, you're the hand that you were dealt, the cards that you were dealt were pretty good. They were pretty darn good. Better than the average person. So it's particularly hard. I am heartbroken for you. I'm heartbroken for your family members. I'm heartbroken for your children. I am. So I do have great sympathy, but you have been convicted, and it was a horrible crime that was committed, and there is a price to be paid, and there's just no way around that. I do find it remarkable, and I hope that you can maintain your positive outlook. Each of you still has a life of value. And going forward, the quality of the life that you have every day will come down to the choices you make. And so I hope that you continue to make choices, and then you realize you do have value and you can contribute. And you started today by speaking to the members of your community, particularly the younger men, that this is not the way to go. It's not. It's not. Because look, we have Charles Jones is dead and 4 people who will now spend life in prison. And again, all for what? For what? Nothing. Over nothing. Turf warfare, drill rap videos. I mean, it really is nothing. So one thing I found that was when I was listening to the testimony, I think when Robert Howard testified, he testified that Jacksonville was the new little Chicago. And I almost fell out of my chair because I can't even imagine anyone in Jacksonville wanting that comparison. So I was curious. I looked it up, and who knows if this is accurate, but apparently in Chicago last year, there were 406 homicides. A quarter of that was gang related. That's about 104 people dead. Poof, gone. For what? For what? So I just want you all to know that. And I really do hope that at least in the community of Jacksonville, that there are serious changes. I don't know why this scourge of gang violence has cropped up. I have no idea. I really am not familiar with Jacksonville. I don't know the whys, but I hope that the community does come together to end it, because Jacksonville just can't keep losing so many young men cut down in the prime of their lives. Can't do it. Continue doing it. So, okay. Anything further before I pronounce sentence?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing on behalf of Rashad Murphy.
No, Your Honor, on behalf of Davion Murphy.
All right. So, Mr. Chance, I'm going to start first. I'm going to adjudicate you guilty. Count 1, sentence you to mandatory life without the possibility of parole. Count 2, I will adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to life to run concurrent with count 1. Mr. Gathright. On count 1, I will adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to life without the possibility of parole. You also have a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence. On count 2, the conspiracy, I will sentence you to 30 years in prison to run concurrent. Count 3, attempted murder in the second degree, I will sentence you to 30 years Florida State Prison with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence, again to run concurrent with all other counts. On count 4, attempted murder in the second degree, adjudicate you guilty and sentence you to 30 years prison with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence, again to run concurrent with all other counts. Count 5, adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 30 years Florida State Prison with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence, again, to run concurrent with all other counts. And on count 6, adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 5 years Florida State Prison. Again, to run concurrent, and again, for you and Mr. Chance, give me credit for all time served. As to Davion Murphy, Mr. Davion Murphy, I will adjudicate you guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and you will have a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence as part of the life sentence. Count 2 on the conspiracy, adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to life to run concurrent. On the attempted murders, counts 3, 4, and 5, I will adjudicate you guilty of each of those, sentence you to life in prison with a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence on each, again, to run concurrent with all of the other counts, and again, giving you credit for all time served. And finally, Mr. Rashad Murphy, I will adjudicate you guilty of murder in the first degree, sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and you will also receive a 20-year minimum mandatory sentence. On count 2, conspiracy, adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to life in prison to run concurrent with count 1. On counts 3, 4, and 5, I will adjudicate you guilty on each of those, sentence you to life in prison. Each of those carries a 20-year minimum mandatory, again, to run concurrent with all other counts, and giving you credit for all time served. All right, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
I do wish you gentlemen the best. I really do, to make the most of your lives going forward. And you do have 30 days to appeal the judgment and sentence of this court. All right. Thank you all. We're concluded.
Whew. Heavy, Chad. Heavy. You see the prosecution office, Sean's mom. I believe that's his aunt. So it could likely be her sister.
I already signed them.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. So as you guys can see, the thing is with this case, and I believe that the feed is about to cut in a second, I'm just going to mute it. If they talk or anything, I will show you guys. As you guys can see, Florida has a different process. You will have a full trial. The jury renders their verdict, and the jury in the penalty phase in the state of Florida will have another opportunity to recommend what they think the penalty should be. In this case, it appeared in the second part, it's actually 3 processes or 3 parts of it. First, you have the trial. Jury renders a verdict. The second part is the penalty phase. The jury gives a recommendation. And the third part is what we just watched, the formal sentencing. Now, with that recommendation, the jury recommended life and not the death penalty. So in a way, these boys, look at them, they're not going under the chair or they're not getting the shot. However, I think that they've accepted their fate a long time ago, about a month ago, when they got their final verdict and recommendation for the jury. Now, when she breaks down certain things like 20-year mandatory, things like that, and you talk about life without parole, parole is something that is afforded to certain criminal defendants, right? And that's when you look at the contrast with Alicia's case. She has 15 years appealable. And typically when someone receives a sentence, they don't complete that full sentence. So I think it's usually around like 50%, depending on the jurisdiction or the state, right? You don't do the full amount of time. Granted, if you comply with good behavior and things of the like. Now, for these boys, for what they did, as the judge was saying, was it worth it? Was it worth it to spend The rest of, look at little boy Sean. Look at him. Green ass Sean. Little green ass Sean. Gone. They just took Davion back to the holding facility. Rashad, 4 or 5 kids. Baby mama. She was in jail last month when she had to testify during the penalty phase. It's sad. It's a sad situation. So I know I made a lot of jokes today, but it's a very sad situation. And then what happens? You know, Foolio's family, like he's gone. He's not coming back. So it's tough. But like the judge mentioned, is it based off of drill rap? But also at the same time, you put a microscope under Jacksonville. And I don't know where that quote came from to be compared to Chicago. Chicago's rough. Chicago is rough, man. It really is. His prefrontal cortex wasn't developed yet. That is crazy. That was crazy. But there you have it, chat. Life across the board for all of them. Isaiah made a point. I think that's going to be an instant appeal. I did promise you guys that I would show you at least what their arguments were. Let me show you what their arguments were in their motions, right? Because I think that's important. Let's come over here, and then I'll read some super chats and we'll get out of here, right? So let's come over here. What does Mr. Rashad have to say? And you can tell, y'all know Gonzalez. When we watched this trial, Gonzalez wouldn't shut up. Okay, I had timed him. All them times I used the timer. Gonzalez can talk. What does this motion say? Filed on the 16th. Okay, 16th. Today is the 22nd. So that means that he filed it Friday. Sorry, did I say 16th? The 19th. 19th. So he filed this on Friday, the 19th at 9:30 a.m. And this is a motion for a new trial. He had the nerve to say that Rashad, there wasn't enough evidence to convict Rashad. I mean, we have a photograph with a gun in his sneakers or the boots that were in the surveillance footage too. I mean, are you really going to tell us that that's not him? Like it's him. It's his build. It's his build. We see it. It's Rashad. So what is the argument here? What motion for a new trial? Why? Give us the reasons, okay? Rashad Murphy files this motion for a new trial. Give us the reasons. He was charged by indictment. We know counts 1, 2, and 3. And he was guilty of lesser offenses of attempted murder in the 2nd degree. Okay. After the penalty phase, he returned a recommendation that he should be sentenced to life in Florida State Prison without the possibility of parole. All right, give us the reasons, Gonzalez. When the verdict has been rendered against the defendant, the court, on a motion of the defendant, may grant a new trial. We know that. The appellate standard of review, he has to tell us what the rules are to convince the judge to make a decision. Now let's get to the reasoning. These are my favorite parts of legal documents. Tell me what the rules are, fine. All right, all of that, fine. What reasons do you have? Let's come here to number 6. The court erred, right? This means the judge made a decision that was wrong in denying Rashad Murphy's motion to suppress cell phone evidence on March 19th, in that the warrant was unsupported by probable cause and premised on speculation and material omissions, and the search of the defendant's cell phone violated the 4th Amendment and Article 1, Section 12 of the Florida Constitution. I see where he's going with this. The court, the judge, also made a mistake in denying Rashad's motion to suppress statements on March 19th, in that the state failed to meet its burden to prove voluntary, knowing, and intelligent waiver. This is such bullshit already. Number 6 falls on its face because, all right, Judge Sisko said, hey, that warrant to get the phone, and y'all remember Y'all remember Gonzalez with the phone. Oh, wasn't charged correctly and it died at some point. It was broken. Like it wasn't a full extraction. Granted, it wasn't a full extraction, but even with what was extracted, that picture came from that extraction. So it's kind of a bad argument. Now, here's the other thing. Number 7 is funny. Do y'all remember when Rashad was in the blanket and the Snuggie and he was all snuggled up? He was all snuggled up in the interrogation room. That's number 7. He's saying the court erred in denying Rashad's motion to suppress statements and that the state failed to meet its burden to prove voluntarily knowing and intelligent waiver. Did he waive it? Shout out to Taz. I'm going to talk to Taz in a second because these Cape Verde videos, he's a mod on this channel. I heard Taz has goats. Like, this is a thing. We're going to talk to Taz in a minute. It's good to see you, Taz. So you have that, okay? They're also saying that Judge Sisko made a mistake in denying Rashad's motion of severance of the defendants. Rashad was the biggest one that was trying to get away from the big 4, okay? He wanted to have his own trial. And the judge, she did deny that. I remember watching that. She did deny their motion to sever. Rashad was the biggest proponent to sever away from this case. You get a little bit of that from Isaiah as well, because, and you heard Isaiah talk about the contours of this case being similar to that of Alicia Andrews and the outcome of Alicia's case. If he wasn't one of the shooters, he feels as if his situation should have been treated in a similar effect as Alicia's. But here's the thing. What cooks Gathright is the fact that he initiated this fight with Foolio on X, on Twitter. That's what cooks him. And then you track all of their phones, and then you see that they're talking about it on the side, like, tell homie to chill out. And that's what Gathright decides to do. So it's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff. All right, Gonzalez goes on to say, Judge Sisko made a mistake in the first motion in limine testimony regarding Ghost 187 on March 6th, and that any testimony linking Rashad to Ghost 187 or the Instagram account is inadmissible hearsay. It's from the phone extraction. Okay. Again, this is just their side of it, right? Gonzalez says that the judge made a mistake in denying his second motion in limine and the Doe-Bar challenge to law enforcement's opinion testimony regarding gang war history, hearsay based on gang intelligence, and uncharged or unsolved acts of violence. And that hearsay evidence identified group members, associates, and statements. That one I can see. Opinion testimony did not satisfy Florida statute 9702 and should have been excluded. All right. Additionally, there was no competent evidence linking the prior uncharged acts to gang retaliation, and said acts were not inextricably intertwined. All law enforcement opinion, testimony, and related evidence concerning alleged prior gang war, gang history, and hearsay-based gang intelligence and reported uncharged gang-related incidents should have been excluded. We'll see what the appeals court has to say. But I will say, reviewing this, that I think Gonzalez is likely going to want to appeal as well. 11, they say the court made a mistake in the third motion regarding gang affiliation. We just talked about that. Next, his fourth motion in limine. I see what Gonzalez is doing. He has his fourth motion, fifth motion, sixth motion, seventh motion, and the judgment for acquittal. So Gonzalez is throwing everything on the table. Yeah, he threw it all on the table. So he's basically saying, Judge Sisko, You made a mistake in these 7 motions and not granting them. So motion for a new trial, you're going to deny it. Now the next step will be appeal. Okay. So that is Rashad's situation. I mean, there's some damning evidence on Rashad as well, like even just the fleeing, the car borrowed from the baby mama, the brother's baby mama, you saying that you were driving down to South Florida to go visit your brother in jail, but why are you bringing those items with you to the jail? So it's also admission to other future crimes. It's just so crazy. It's just so insane. All right. So that's Rashad's situation. Let us come to little boy Sean. What was count 6 that he was trying to get thrown out? Sean was trying to get count 6 of the indictment thrown out at the end of the state's case, and at the end of the close of evidence, Mr. Gathright moved for a judgment of acquittal among other counts, count 6 of the indictment. Count 6 alleged a charge of tampering with physical evidence. Mr. Gathright asserted that the act of leaving the Chevy Impala at his grandmother's house and briefly wiping down its front interior armrest areas was insufficient as a matter of law to sustain a charge of tampering. I'm not even gonna read the rest. Are you fucking kidding me? The Impala was used in the crime. You're outside your grandma's house. We got you on camera wiping it down. You're saying that that wasn't a all right. That's why she said deny as soon as she heard it. On questioning of the court, the state confirmed that the acts related to the Impala were the basis of the tampering charge. The court went on to take the motion under advisement. The offense of tampering with physical evidence is a specific intent crime. So they're now telling us what the law says, and they give us at least 3 cases citing it. There's some quotes there. Because a conviction requires proof of more than just the physical act and removal of evidence, courts of appeal have reversed numerous tampering with evidence convictions in scenarios in which the defendant simply removed or discarded evidence, and the state presented no evidence of any specific intent to impair the evidence ability in an investigation or prosecution. Wow. Moving on to Davion and Father Time here. What do they want for Father Time? Davion, they give us the procedural background. I'm not going to bore you guys with that. We already know. Argument, right? What do they say Judge Sisko did wrong? She made a mistake in denying severance of the defendants. Prior to trial, defendants had sought separate trials. The court denied severance and required all defendants to proceed jointly in the capital prosecution. The joint trial created substantial prejudice because, okay, I like that, 4 reasons. The evidence admissible against one defendant was repeatedly considered against all defendants. Okay, Father Time. Shit. Talk that shit, Father Time. The jury was exposed to extensive evidence concerning the conduct, statements, social media activity, and alleged gang affiliations of multiple co-defendants. Okay. The state repeatedly presented to the defendants as a collective group rather than requiring individualized proof as each of the accused. The danger of guilt by association overwhelmed the jury's ability to independently evaluate the evidence against Davion Murphy. Where the defendants are antagonistic or where the evidence against one defendant creates spillover prejudice against the other, severance is required to ensure a fair trial. The denial of the severance substantially impaired Davion's constitutional right to individualized consideration of guilt and requires a new trial. That's interesting. We'll see. I mean, again, Judge Cisco she already ruled on these. She denied all these motions. So at this point, this has to go to the Court of Appeals, which is going to take years. Could take a while. Could take a little bit. And I mean, they got the time. All right. So he also talks about the extensive gang profiling and gang affiliation evidence that is included in here involving ATK, 1200, and 6 Block. There were lots of questions, and I could tell Father Time is harping on this one because there were lots of questions, especially with the Jacksonville detectives, on if they were actually gang experts. Father Time did ask those questions. I remember it well. He asked those questions like, what qualifies you as a gang expert? What background, experience, and training do you have aside from, categorization, right? So when it comes to gang structure, rivalries, social media activity, tattoos, culture, and alleged ongoing conflicts. So that came up. Ooh, this is a good one. The state repeatedly encouraged jurors to review the case through the lens of gang warfare rather than focusing upon proof establishing Davion's individual guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And so he focuses more on the gang activity. The denial of a mistrial. Yes, Father Time did move for a motion for mistrial, right? As the jury improperly heard evidence of Davion's prior incarceration. That did come through Detective Griffin. I remember it. We had a short break. The jury had to come out of the room, and Judge Cisco denied that motion too. Okay. What happens is you really don't want a jury to hear things if it's involved in another legal matter or another incarceration. You want a fair and impartial jury, but you also want a fair and impartial trial. So if information is coming in about prior bad acts or other unrelated incarcerations and detainments, that can become a problem. All right. So Father Time, I think he was the only one that had a motion for mistrial, and he did well with that. I will give Father Time that one. So he did good. He did good. But anywho, that's Davion's. Lastly, you have Isaiah Chance. And like I said, Isaiah Chance, this one was filed first on May 21st. If anybody wanted a motion for a mistrial, it was Isaiah. Isaiah was the first one. And I think, I'm not going to go through it too much because this is well written. Isaiah does have, in my opinion, one of the better attorneys out of the group. But this is really focusing on the outcome of Alicia's case and looking at the outcome of his case. So briefly, let's go through the arguments here. The verdict is contrary to the weight of the evidence because the state's entire case rests on impermissibility stacked on inferences. So basically saying that people made inferences, but you don't have any hardcore evidence on Isaiah, is what they're saying. So the evidence at Teasers and Truth 18, the two clubs, requires inferences, stacked inferences, but you don't have any proof. He's saying Isaiah used Alicia's phone despite having possession of his own phone. The phone calls were intended as location signals. Sean understood them as location signals. Isaiah's purpose at the venues could only be scouting for murder rather than including to attempt the clubs or rap venues. They say that is wrong because the evidence directly undermines the scouting theory. Foolio's real-time location was simultaneously being broadcast publicly by Mizzle on Instagram, as well as being sent to Sean Gathright by Enright. The co-defendants in the Black Impala had no need for Isaiah to serve as a scout. The calls remain equally consistent with routine attempts to contact a travel companion. I mean, We'll see what the Court of Appeals does with that. They also talked about stacked inferences and how, you have home to suites evidence, right, outside of the hotel, but Isaiah's not in it. The state cannot invoke the established fact exception, so there is an exception to a rule. They're fighting that. The evidence is insufficient to establish conspiracy for Isaiah, so they're fighting that. The gang war Instagram post and drill rap evidence shows only motive, but not guilt for Isaiah. All right, so Mr. Petridis filed this very, very early on, back in May. So there you have it, dear viewer. There's a lot here, but let us come to some super chats, and then I am going to get up out of here, walk my dog, chill for the day, and go from there. Shout out to Feline Fusion. Hits me with the 10. Says, hi, AV, Luna, and chat. Yeah, for those that don't know, Luna is my dog. She's in the other room. She's like, ma'am, can we go to the bathroom? So I'm going to take her out in a minute. But thank you so much, Feline Fusion. Really appreciate you. I did star a few questions I saw. Anna asked a good question. She said, will Alicia be eligible for parole, or does she have to do the full 15? I think I did answer that one. Shout out to E. Says, AV, where is Sean's dad in all of this? I thought this was an interesting question. So the way that this worked is Sean's mom and Sean's dad were together, and they had the two kids, Sean and Sean's sister, that y'all always are like, oh my God, she's so bad. She's so cute. The men love Sean's sister. Anywho, they had those two kids together. They were married. Now they split up. And then the mother got remarried to another man, right? I believe Sean's father is a white man because we've met Sean's mother. Now, Sean's grandmother, the white woman. So two grandmothers been involved in this case. Now, the white grandmother is the mother of Sean's father. Now, Sean and so the divorce happened, but apparently Sean and his father weren't getting along really well. And Sean's father, I believe, moved to the West Coast. I don't know if he's still there, but this is just information that came out in trial. So Sean shipped off to live with his dad for a little bit. That didn't work out. And then he had to come back to the East Coast. Okay. Was living with the grandma for a little bit. And then those of y'all have been in this chat, like, let me tell you about the tea from the Carolinas with little boy Sean. Apparently he was involved in another shooting up there when he was living with the grandmother. Allegedly. I don't know if that for a fact, so don't take me up on it. But the father and Sean, as far as I know, do not speak. He did not show up to the penalty phase or any of that. Wasn't involved in the process. So that's your answer on where he is. Shout out to Made by Love. I haven't seen you in so long. Drops a $5 super sticker. Good to see you, sis. Appreciate you as always. She hits me up with another 20. So hit your girl with 25 and super stickers. I appreciate you, sis. And she has been, I believe, sponsoring whole trials, like very involved with this one from the beginning. So the entire month of April, May, as we were watching this trial, Made by Love has been a strong supporter in this case. Shout out to Jess with the 2, says, hope you had a great vacation. Yeah, you know what? I didn't even really go on vacation. I'm moving, guys. I have to move in like a week. I'm very far behind in the process of that happening, but I'm catching up. That's the good news. I'm moving to the South. I'm getting the hell out of Massachusetts, and I never want to look back. Although last week was very nice with the Scottish people being here, putting cones on statues. Apparently that is something that they do as part of their culture, but they are very nice. They came to one of the Cape Verdean watch parties. It was good to see some of the Scottish people, but yeah, I'm gonna need another vacation soon, but we gotta work. We gotta work and get moved. But thank you, Jess. Good to see you, sis. Shout out to D with the 5, says, I thought these guys would be working on the chain gang by now since they voluntarily agreed to give the state of Florida sweat equity. That's the other thing about this case, Chad. Sweat equity. We heard that during the penalty phase, and it was probably the first witness that came up And he was someone from the prison system in Florida, an expert from that space. And he talked about maybe instead of giving them the death penalty, to have them serve out life sentences and what day-to-day life could look like in Florida State Prison and how sweat equity could be used. Think about that. Sweat, labor, right? Equity meaning your work, the equity you have as a human being. Crazy, crazy D. But that's why people remember the term sweat equity. Really came from this case. It could have happened before then, but I think most of us that have watched this case as a community, we remember the term sweat equity because we're like, what the hell? Thank you, D. Shout out to Michael Love with the 5 says he's correct though. I mean, I think this is probably when Isaiah was talking when you dropped this, either Isaiah or Sean. But yeah, you know, like I know we were a little hard on Sean, but at the same time, I would have liked to hear an apology and mainly to the community as well. Because, dear viewer, it could have been me or you or Michael Love or anybody. We could have just been on vacation in a hotel and all of a sudden bullets are flying through your goddamn room. Okay. So a little bit tough stuff there. But, you know, I think the attempt from Pastor Sean is there. Shout out to Bradley. Thank you, Bradley, with the 5 says, I wouldn't be surprised if he says, Ace, yo ass next. They coming for you. Well, you guys know I follow a lot of these cases involving the urban communities because we just don't get a lot of people with the right representation in this space, meaning being objective, looking at the facts, looking at the law, looking at the evidence. Y'all know I hated the Carmelo Anthony case. I hated it because, you know, we got a lot of comments, a lot of passion on both sides in that case. But, you know, it just makes talking about like racism, like you can't do it in like an educated way without being attacked, which is so disappointing these days. Like we're in 2026. I don't understand why people can't have these discussions and a, you know, open, educated forum without somebody choosing to attack the other side. I'm not saying anything because last week people were like, you're defending a murderer because I said something like that. I'm like, I just want to fucking have a debate. Like, why can't I have a debate? It's so crazy. But anyway, coming back to this with Ace, people are looking at, there are rumors saying that there could be an incoming RICO. I don't think Ace is worried about it, to be honest with you. I do think Ace has hopefully engaged a attorney, especially with having the Foolio 4, these 4 defendants, and then, you know, Alicia Andrews. Now, what's important, though, is that in this last round with the Foolio 4, you also saw implications on Spinna Benz, other people that we did not see implicated in Alicia's trial that are affiliated with his record label, okay? We saw Spinna Benz, was it Spinna Benz's car? And then, well, I don't know if it was Whopper with the chopper, I forget, but there was 2 of them that was closely related to Ace. So I would lawyer up, but, you know, again, to each their own, you never know. Made by Love with the 10 says he's right and wrong at the same time. He knows what he did. Thought he was going to come out on top. He gambled and lost. It ain't worth it. It's not. It's not. You know, like I keep coming back to the World Cup because I feel so bad, guys. Like my country, this is their first time Cape Verde has ever qualified. Yesterday was the first time a Cape Verdean person made a goal in the World Cup. Like it was a huge deal, right? Boston has been hosting everybody at these games. Minute we have a celebration, they fucking throwing out tear gas, and it's like, you know, like I'm leaving this state. I can't wait to leave. But at the end of the day, you could be right and wrong at the same time. So if a crowd is being crazy and it needs to disperse, that's fine. But are all crowds treated the same way? You know, are all of them? being treated the same way. Thank you so much, Made by Love. Shout out to 2 Minute Approved, gifted 10 AV memberships. And then he did it again. He gifted 20 AV memberships. I did not catch this in the moment, y'all, but that is a big deal. If you got gifted a membership, surprise for you. I did put out a video talking a little bit about my culture yesterday, and that's for members only right now. But also my members, I am going to probably send her a DM, but I'm going to chat with Julio's mom. I wanted to wait until this case ended completely, and now it is completely ended. She also did not come to the sentencing today or issue a statement. We've been waiting to do an interview. So my members, all of the newly minted members from 2 Minute Approved and existing members, I will be putting up a community tab post where, if you guys want to help me craft questions for that interview, you're more than welcome. And we'll grab we'll do a members only thread and have a discussion about what that interview looks like. So 2 Minute Approved, thank you so much. And if you got a membership from 2 Minute Approved, he's been with me since the YSL days, okay? Thank you so much for gifting those memberships. I really, really appreciate it. Shout out to Hollywood, been with me for a month. You've been around for 2 years. Says, let him talk, very entertaining comedy show. I didn't mean to come at Sean like that, but it was actually unbelievable in the moment. Then Davion wanted to say something, and then Isaiah. It was just, I didn't predict that was going to be the outcome of the day. I really didn't. 2 Minute Approved then follows, sorry, not 2 Minute Approved. Hollywood then gifts an AV membership. If you're one of those lucky people, please say thank you. Chris pops in with a $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. Is it Chris Bibby? Chris Bibby. I love it. Thank you so much. Jess is in here with another 2, says, I'm out. You kill me. Love you. Later, y'all. Yeah, Jess is amazing. She's been with me since Karen Reed days. Karen Reed days. Shout out to RLI with the 2, says she's getting ready to throw the book at them. And she did. She did. She had to have her speech first, though. She did. She had her speech and then went in from there. Made by Love with the 5 says, I was waiting for Sean to say, and at midnight. Oh, I know. Like Sean had that mic and was not going to let it go. And I was like, did we hear scriptures? I think we heard about 2 or 3 scriptures from Sean Gathright. Nothing wrong with that if you're religious. But remember, this is the same boy that, was likely the one that murdered Julio Foolio. This is also the same boy that started a GoFundMe and said that he's going to start posting his prison journey on Instagram for y'all's enjoyment and asked you for money to do that. Shout out to Teddy with the 2, says Florida abolished parole after October 1st, 1983. Thank you so much for that fact. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier in the discussion. Some of you guys in the chatterhood were wondering why parole was not included, and you might see that in other states. Thank you, Teddy, for the fun fact there. Coming over to my phone, I think we are all good. I don't see any cash apps or anything. Anywho, this has been fun, everybody. Thank you so much for all of the super chats. Yes, I am following the Carmelo Anthony thing. Again, that one is supercharged. We put a video out 2 days ago. Other than that, the schedule for this week, we are going to talk about Mr. Hernandez Govan. How do you get off of murder for young Dolph and then you are back in jail over what? $400. I kid you not, it is a fight with his baby mama. The man a year ago just got out of jail and is now back in it. And this time they're federal charges. Federal. You went from state to federal. Okay. So you have that. Then we have Keefe D and the Tupac thing. I mean, we're actually going to have a Tupac trial in this summer, chat. We're going to have a Tupac murder trial. That one still blows my mind. For those that are curious about where I'm moving, it is going to be in the South, but I will probably be doing the Courtney Clenny case in person. The OnlyFans girl that flicked a knife and threw it at her boyfriend, who was an African American man. Well, not African. Well, he's African. I don't know if Christian Obensully is from Ghana, or if he was born here. I don't remember. But I know that he comes from an African family. FBAs be like, AV, get it right. Get it right. So I have to make sure that I put some respect on the name. And then I think there is some activity coming out of Texas as well for some other cases, which I got to strap up if I'm going to Texas for cases, like literally and figuratively. Then Dirk, everybody's like, AV, Dirk, give us Dirk. What do you think about Dirk? That's going to be a federal one as well. No cameras in the courtroom. David was supposed to be next week. The hearing got moved to July. David is cooked. He's so cooked. He's so cooked, beyond cooked. That one may actually be televised. So we got a lot of great cases coming for 2026. I'm so excited. And Dirk was moved. Yeah, I haven't looked at it. Thank you, Anna. I have not looked at Dirk in like 2 weeks. So if that was moved to next year, then really August is going to be, I don't know if Yellow Bees, I haven't looked at Yellow Beesies either. But I know for sure you got the Tupac murder case is still on as of now. And then also Courtney Clenny. So we've got a lot of things. Mo's, that's what I was thinking of, Anna. Mo. That's what, when I said movement in Dallas, that's what I was thinking of. Anywho. All right, guys, let me get up on out of here. Get me some lunch. Please make sure your notifications are on. Whenever I take a break, like it won't let you know I'm here. I guarantee you I'm going to see comments that are like, I didn't know we were back. I didn't know we were live. Just make sure that your notifications are set to all and not some, or just, I don't know, whatever the medium version is. But Viva Cabo Verde. We are going. I'm rooting for them in the World Cup. We could actually come out of our group, which would be amazing to see. So anyway, love you guys. Stay safe out there. See you in the next one. Bye.